as far as other things going on, I know that shortly after the heyday of the Rendezvous, Eddie went off and formed his own band, Eddie and the Showmen, after Mr. Moto had hit and we didn't get another follow-up to it. He wanted to try his own thing, so he went and got his own band, and his dad was his manager, and they were able to pull some strings and get the Retail Clerks Hall in Anaheim or Santa Ana, I forget which one it was, but anyway, they made another major center for kids to come there. I mean, he was throwing his dances every weekend, basically challenging Dick Dale on his own turf, and he pulled it off. That was a very popular scene. And then after that, Dick Dale moved over to the Harmony Park Ballroom. That was the best place of all of them. It was this wooden kind of building, and it had a lot of open areas to the outside, and it was just a neat place. And I remember the acoustics there were great, and everything resonated. And anyway, and then over in the South Bay where we were, there was the Grand Theater in Torrance. Became another popular dance, and that was kind of a tough area, so it was a little, whereas we started playing at a place called the Bel-Air Club, because what happened was this local businessman asked us to be the house band, and he wanted to start a teen nightclub, and so that became our home base, and we played at the Bel-Air Club, you know, every weekend that we weren't playing anywhere else, and that became the center for the whole South Bay scene, kind of like the Rendezvous was for the Orange County scene. And then they had dances at the Tor Rollerdrome, which was a real tough place, you know, and there was a lot of fights going on over there. And then there were, you know, other little places. We played for some of the high school canteens, and you know, there were dances pretty much every weekend. You could take your pick of 3 or 4 of them anyway. Most of the music ended up coming to the Bel-Air Club.
All right, well, just before moving on with this seminar, calling some other guests, I know that we all would have some questions for Paul, you know, but we got to move on. But there's one last thing I want to talk about, and maybe you can, you know, this is real man. This is the man. I mean, then he has to play a little bit, but before, I want to know, before listening to it, and of course you're going to listen to Paul Johnson playing the music tonight, at what time, 9 o'clock. Before playing it a little bit, I would like to know something about the story of Mr. Moto. Mr. Moto, how it started, what is this song?
Well, yeah, Eddie and I were just learning to play our favorites by these other guys, and then we started writing our own tunes, and I had a few originals of mine, and Eddie had some of his. And this one came along, and it was just a song that developed as I was learning to play. And I think there's something key there. I think a lot of what we consider the most interesting songs that are fresh and original have to do with the musician going through a discovery process. I was just learning to play the guitar, really, and I was doing certain, you want to hold this? Because I can't hold this and play at the same time. Yeah. Just have it handy for me so I can grab it back. But I was fiddling around with stuff in my learning, you know, like just doing this, you know, just getting used to playing the D thing. And then I discovered that if you went down to the B flat, it sounded kind of cool to go from here to that. And I thought that was pretty cool. So in the course of fiddling around with that, I ended up pretty much coming up with the chord progression that became, you know, the chord progression for the verse of Mr. Moto, and then the melody kind of grew out of that, you know. tell you a little secret. This can't go beyond this room. There was a record out at the time called Hot Rod Lincoln. And it was one of those rapid fire, it was Johnny Bond, it was like this real rapid fire country licks kind of thing. And of course, as a budding guitar player, I was kind of intimidated by that. I listened to that and I thought, wow, you know, how do you play that kind of stuff? And there was this one, and I took the record, the 45, and because I couldn't even begin to play along with it, I turned it down to 33 and played it slow. So some of those rapid fire licks got to where I could almost make them out and maybe play along with them. And one of the guitar solos was going, I still can't play it the fast way, like, you know, but it goes down, you know. So, but slowed down to 33, you know, I could play it. And I was basically just fiddling around with that, along with this other new melody that I'd come up with the other chords I showed you about. And then I discovered that going from one to the other kind of fit together, and so this became the chorus for the verse that I'd come up with. So that I had the chorus and the verse. And then, of course, the other thing is, when you're learning to play guitar, you learn different ways to make an A chord. And sometimes, you know, when you're just learning, you go to grab the chord and you hit the wrong fret. And I hit that, and I thought, no, that's not right. I got to move my fingers back down, so I tried to move them back down. This one got hung up, and then I finally got it right. So I had this. I thought, that sounds pretty cool. I'll put that in the same tune. So that's how all the various parts of Mr. Moto came about.
This is magic. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Johnson. Well, we're going to listen tonight, Paul playing about what is 9 o'clock here on the Tiki stage. So thank you very much for this introduction to surf music. Thank you again. Now, you heard about the beginning of this thing. Now let's try to move on, how it develops. There's a guy here coming from the San Francisco area, and another band that is playing tonight, one of the international guests.